Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And wow, what an episode we have here today. This is episode 1 of a 3-part Old Forester series. Run the video. Alrighty then folks, thank you for joining us for another new and exciting episode of the Whiskey Cove. And as you can see in front of your very eyes, we have 10 editions from Old Forester here. So I wanted to initially blind 5 and try to find the best one of the 5, but I thought, heck, we just need to get as many in here as we can. I don't have the Old Forester birthday bourbon or the presidential one or some of the other stuff, like the really high-end stuff, which I wish I had. Obviously you can see I don't have them. So what we'll do, we'll blind 5 today, we'll blind 5 in another episode, and then we'll bring the top 2 from each one into the final, and then we'll also have a dealer's choice. So I'll also pull one more, which I think, one of the ones that missed out, I'll be like, you know, we'll just get this in as a wild card. So like the best of the rest, if you like a 3rd place finish. So we'll do 2 winners from today, 2 winners from next week, and then the best one that kind of missed out, I'll put into the final there as well. So how will we choose the 5 from today? So I'm just gonna have my wife pull 5 randomly for me. I'm not gonna know which is which. We'll do a double blind as well. So let's get these out of here and let's start with the blind. Alright then folks, as you can see, we have the whiskey now into glasses. I have no idea which whiskey is in which glass. I don't know which of the 5 or the 10 that she put in here. Completely random, and it's going to make for a really fun episode. So what we will do is we will start from your left and then work your way over to your right. As you can see, we are using the Whiskey Cove Glencairns here. If you would like to purchase one of these for an excellent price, go over to the whiskeycove.square.site. The link is in the description down below. If you would like to support this Whiskey Cove even further, go over to the Whiskey Cove Patreon.com/the Whiskey Cove. Again, the link is down below there, and you can sign up for some different tiers where you get some free stuff, some samples, entry into a lottery draw for some free bottles there as well every year. So definitely go and check us out. And heck, if you don't want to do any of that, being a subscriber is 100% okay with me, and I appreciate every single one of you too. With that being said, let's get into glass number 1 here. So these whiskeys all kind of look very similar in the glass. I would say that the middle one looks a little bit darker, but this first one definitely has like a little bit of a lighter golden hue to it, as opposed to maybe a dark brown beer or mahogany type color there. It is very fruit forward though, I will definitely say that from the get-go. Has a little bit of corniness to that, maybe like a caramel popcorn note. But a real nice toasty note there as well, like fresh toasted bread. Touch of yeasty note, which I expect from you. I get that brown Foreman kind of banana bubblegum cherry, but it's definitely leaning more into the bubblegum note. Like a cherry chewing gum bubblegum, if you like. This is a very inviting nose. The caramel corn paired with the cherry and the nice toast note really works for a really nice balanced nose. Let's go in for a taste here. Really tasty. A lot of those similar notes come through on the palate. No burn whatsoever. I wouldn't say that the mouthfeel is necessarily oily, but it does enough to carry that flavor through to the finish there as well. Not really any spice, not much rice spice, if any at all. No pepperiness there. A slight Kentucky hug. Not very proof forward in my personal opinion, but still very flavorful. So what we'll do is we'll move into glass 2, but before we'll do, I'm just gonna cleanse my palate here. Glass number 2. Let's go. Oh, very nice nose just from the get-go. It's kind of like everything that was in glass 1, but it has much more like a richness to it. Has a little bit of like a biscuit, a buttery biscuity shortbread note there as well. But that cherry, and it's like much more dessert forward, almost double oaked if you liked. I'm not saying that necessarily this is, and I'm not trying to guess them, but it has some of those burnt marshmallow, charred oak characteristics, as a lot of Brown-Forman products generally do for me. And yes, I don't have hair anymore, just in case that wasn't obvious. But yeah, very approachable as well. And I do think that Brown-Forman is some of the best whiskey, or Old Forester specifically, but a lot of what Brown-Forman put out is some of the best stuff for whiskey beginners, because it does offer you a little bit more of a sweeter palate and less spice, so it's a little bit more tolerable, neat. Really good whiskey to start drinking whiskey neat. Let's go in for a taste. Again, no spice on the palate whatsoever. Little bit more of a woke wood tannin note on this one compared to the first one. A real, again, that richness is again carrying through from the nose. You get more vanillas on the palate, and a really like a rich treacle or a butterscotch sauce there as well. It's very rich. Just as I'm saying, as I'm getting into the finish, it does have a tendency of drying out. That sweetness does pull back a little bit, and you are left with a little bit more like new oak new oak dryness there as well. But again, another excellent whiskey here. Let's move into glass 3 here. Rich toffee, very sweet, very toffee forward. Maybe some like fresh cut apples as well, like a nice rich red Fiji apple. So think like a caramel apple on a stick. I think that's what you folks call them in America, caramel apples, but in the UK we call them toffee apples. I don't know if we actually use toffee as opposed to caramel. It's probably all the same stuff. But yeah, really inviting nose. More toasted notes on this glass than the other two. Definitely has more of those double oaked rich vibes. And I guess maybe the color might back that up there as well. Not as much cherry as the first two, but there's a touch of just classic bubblegum note there. Little yeast. Not really any banana, maybe some fresh toasted almonds there. Maybe some, so we have something in the UK called like a Madeira cake. It has some marble and it has some like sweet notes in there as well, and it's quite savory because it has a touch of salt. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Madeira cake with some white icing sugar on top. Very nice, very approachable so far. Let's go in for a taste. Not very spicy at all on the palate, like I said about the other two. Very drinkable, very, very drinkable. Just goes down like water. However, unlike water, has a bunch of flavor there as well. You get more of that toasted wood note. It is quite dry and on the mouth. You get that really nice, rich caramel toffee sweetness that's there as well. Toasted marshmallow, toasted nuts. A really nice, easy drinker. Great whiskey for a beginner, but because you get so much flavor and just so approachable. That was glass number 3. Let's move into glass 4 here. Okay. This is getting back to something that's more similar than glass 2 here, as opposed to 1 and 3. Again, ramping up that cherry, almost like a cherry liqueur note running through here. Like a cherry finished whiskey. Again, with the sweetness, the caramel sauce, very approachable. No spice there. Really nice woody cedar backbone there, toasted oak. Kind of has like a pencil shavings, kind of esque wood note. Maybe a little more proof than what we've already had here. Let's go for a taste, glass 4. So on the palate, you are getting like a little bit of richness, but it does dry off quite fast as it compared to the other 3. I feel like I'm drinking a higher ABV whiskey than the other 3. I'm not necessarily saying that it's a high ABV whiskey, but it just feels a little bit higher, maybe more closer to like the 100 proof mark. You get a little bit more wood with this one, I feel. Not more toasted wood, but maybe like a more younger oak. I feel like with this, I feel like it might be a little bit more youthful than it maybe these two. I feel that it isn't as well-rounded. Nevertheless, it still has a lot of those quintessential bourbon notes of those vanillas, the caramels, and that oak. Maybe more leaning more into the apples as well, much like the second glass did. These two kind of remind me a lot of each other. More wood tannins in this as well, but they feel more like a newer wood oak tannin note then. That was glass 4, and then we have one more glass, which is going to be glass 5. Let's reset the palate and we'll dive headfirst into that one. This is kind of like a bit of a combination of all of them so far. I have a sweet, rich note up front, like the toffee note, But then you also have a lot of like that cherry liqueur note that's coming through, like a maraschino cherry juice, something like that. But then it's almost like leaning into a little bit of like cherry pledge there as well, because the alcohol is kind of coming off a little bit and it's mixing with like that cherry note, and it kind of like you're spraying an aerosol can, but not in a bad way. And again, a lot more wood. Feels a little bit more richer, feels like there's more going on there. There's a little bit more balance to the force on this one. Let's go in for a taste, glass 5. A lot more wood on this one. Real oak tannins. I'm wondering what type of wood that is. Maybe something unique, maybe more oak, maybe it's been aged for a lot longer, but it definitely does hit the palate here, which tends to lean that it's an older bourbon, or there's just spent more time or in newer oak. Very rich on the palate. A little bit of pepper spice on the tongue here as I'm tasting through it. A little of that leathery kind of cherry pledge note that's there, but really rich. Little bit of spice, plenty of wood, but it does a really great job at balancing out all those different things, and then coming together to making a better like sum of the parts, if you like. So a really great finish here on what is so far gonna be a very difficult blind for me to rank. So what we'll do is we'll pause the camera, I'll taste through them a little bit more, and then we'll come back and put them in an order. All right then folks, so with much deliberation, I think I just have them in an order. So 5th place and 4th place were somewhat easy. 2nd and 3rd were probably the hardest. First there was an outright winner. So what we've done recently, we've got these really nice fun blocks that we managed to put together. Other YouTube video, whiskey channels have something like this. So I thought, heck, let's just get some blocks, and it'll look quite neat and tidy as we're kind of announcing the ranking order. So in 5th place was glass number 1. I just thought it was very tasty, very approachable. It's just a little bit too proof light, if you like, and it had a lot of good flavors, but it wasn't as good as some of the other stuff in terms of ramping up those flavor, balancing them out. It was just a little bit of an entry level whiskey, I feel like. So that was glass number 5 here, and glass number 1, which is going to be, let's have a little look. So it's going to be E for Echo, and that is going to be, yeah, I thought this was what it is, and that is Old Forester 86. So again, you know, a good whiskey, a really good whiskey in its own right, but just, you know, just a little light on some of the flavors compared to these other ones. Next up, and we ended up going with glass number 4 as 4th place. So that is going to be D for Dog. So that will be 4th place, and I'll just move some of these around here. And I think I did this a little differently. I need to do that, and we put that there, and then this is going to be, what was there? D for Dog here, and that is going to be, okay, 1870, the original batch. This is 45% ABV or 90 proof. I actually felt like it drank a little bit higher than that, if I'm completely honest. It was good. It was a little raw in some aspects, and it just wasn't as good as the others. That's really all you need to say about that. So what was really difficult, so between glass 2 and glass 5, this is where it gets really tight. I felt like they had a lot of the same flavor profiles, but I felt like just glass 5 just stole it by a hairs. We might see glass 2 come in as a wild card, but let's find out what glass 2 was here. And that is going to be A for Alpha. Okay, that's a bit of surprising because I had this down as a little bit of a dark horse, and that is going to be Old Forester King's Ranch. So this is a Texas only exclusive, and like I said, I've tried this. As you can see, the bottle has been opened. I really like this, so that's really surprised me that it kind of came in there. I wasn't really picking up too much of like that mesquite, but there's definitely a form of wood note there as well. Like I said, very close to glass 5, which glass 5 was, just a little look here, B for Bravo, and that is going to be, okay, that is going to be 1924. So 1924, the $130 bottle of whiskey does make it through to the final bracket. we did a review on this. We thought that it was just, it was a good whiskey, but for the price, can you do a little bit better than that? And I guess we'll see while finished in glass one here. But I think it did a really good showing today. I feel like there was a lot of richness there, some really good wood notes as you would expect from a 10-year whiskey, and it just snipped King's Ranch there. So for number one that came in this bracket today is going to be C for Charlie, and that is going to be, okay, yeah, we kind of thought this is what it was, and that is because it is, number one is going to be Old Forester 1910. It just had a little bit more toasty notes. It was so easy to drink, but had so much flavor there as well. However, I could see on a different day up against different whiskeys, like 1920 or maybe even the 1924, that this might fall to the side a little bit, because if you're looking for something a little more busy on the palate in terms of you actually want more proof coming through, then this isn't going to step up to that. But it does have a lot of those toasted marshmallow, kind of Rice Krispie bar notes with a little bit of cherry there as well. So 1910 does win this bracket. I think the wife did a good job picking out some balanced whiskeys. So we know now on the next video we have Old Forester 1920, Old Forester Barrel Strength, the blue label, Old Forester 117 bottled in bond. We have Old Forester is 1890 as well, and then the Old Forester 100, and that is going to be an incredible bracket to see which ones make it to the final. So if you've enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, hit the bell icon so you do not miss the other two videos for these Old Foresters. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate that. Enjoy the hairline, enjoy the new cut. If you have any comments, hit them up down below, and thanks for watching. Cheers.